Thank you very much, and thank you very much for attending. What we're going to do here over the course of the next up to 60 minutes is show you the private equity solution that we have built on the Salesforce.com platform. To start, we're going to spend about 5 minutes and give you an overview as to what we're going to show you, and then we're going to show it to you. So if you can see my screen now, where it says Salesforce and private equity, what we're going to do is kind of walk through a quick presentation. A couple slides on who is Sikich, and then we're going to get into what we're going to show you from a functionality standpoint. So a little bit about Sikich. Sikich is over 1,000 people, headquartered in Naperville, Illinois, just right outside of Chicago. Offices throughout the U.S. and really broken down into 3 different groups. You've got the accounting, audit and tax group, you have the tech group, and then you have the advisory group. So our Salesforce practice fits into the technology group. And as part of that, we've got a practice dedicated to Salesforce and have the solution that we're going to show you today is a application that we have built that we deploy out to our private equity clients. From a Salesforce practice overview standpoint, we're a Salesforce Gold partner. We've done over 1,000 Salesforce projects. We've got a lot of certifications and are very deep in the data migration and integration space. And then we've also built these Head Start solutions, which are industry-specific applications that solve a specific business need. From a private equity standpoint, specifically, our firm, in addition to deploying Salesforce to a number of private equity firms, separate from that, we've got over 100 private equity clients outside of the Salesforce world. So we do a lot of work with private equity firms, both in Salesforce and outside of Salesforce from an advisory standpoint. Specific to Salesforce, we've built this Head Start solution that we're going to be showing you today. And the idea behind it is true speed to value. It's a pre-built data model based upon the needs of private equity firms. And we will show that to you here in just a second. But to touch on the transaction advisory group, they provide value throughout the private equity process from a business standpoint, whether it be analysis behind the scenes to support a potential investment. But Sikich has an entire group focused to support the needs of private equity firms from a transaction standpoint. Okay, let's get into what we're going to show you today.
And so, Matt, before you do, I want to send out that first poll question. Okay. So if we can set that up. Thanks, Matt, for letting me interject here. Our first poll question today, what do you currently use to manage your fundraising and deal pipeline? It's a CRM system, Excel, or nothing? Excellent. Okay, let's close that poll up. Looks like CRM systems way in the lead with Excel just trailing behind.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, thank you. So what we want to talk about is why Salesforce for private equity. So on the left side, we've got high-level attributes about Salesforce. It's the #1 cloud. It's proven as a platform for building out these applications. It's extremely scalable, very fast, and there's an open ecosystem that provides you with a lot of applications that you can plug in. The center box here is really what we're going to show you today. And everything from a portfolio company managing the portfolio company, the intermediaries, the LPs, to fundraising and tracking your fundraising up to a fund, looking at a fund and being not only able to see how much is committed capital in the fund, but what are the deals that you're evaluating from that money that's been assembled in the fund. Taking a look at dashboards, from a deal dashboard, from a fundraising dashboard, but also from a fund performance dashboard, and being able to produce quarterly investment reports that you send out to your investors, but then also provide them with a portal. Salesforce calls it the Experience Cloud, where your investors now can log in and work with you and receive documents, and we will be showing that to you also. And then in addition to that, on the far right, under Salesforce functionality, these are some of the things that inherently you get with Salesforce: a shared view of different companies, and we'll show you that and how views will work, tracking your activities, being able to access it from a mobile device, and maybe update call notes right after you had a call, being able to handle business processes and assign out different tasks, everything from additional reports, forecasting, which is inherent in Salesforce, email integration, and then integration with third-party apps. Okay. So what we're going to do now is, last slide here is our head start, which we're going to show you today. It's a pre-built data model running on Salesforce Enterprise Edition, and it includes account record types, fundraising, fund management, deal management, reporting, again, the investor reports, the community, and we'll be showing all that to you. The benefit to this is that you can get up and running very quickly. Now, you may want some enhancements, but fundamentally the data model and the functionality is there, because we've done so much work with private equity firms that what we found is that they all do the same thing fundamentally. There are some differences, but the idea behind the fundraising and the funds and the deals and the reporting and all that is fundamentally what they need. So let's get into it. So now what we're going to do is we are going to walk through a demo of the private equity template that we have built. Okay. So what you're looking at here is we created a private equity application, and when you create an application in Salesforce, you define the tabs that you want to share. So in this case, we've got the home tab, everything from accounts, contacts, and all the way over to dashboards. So I'm going to go ahead and just refresh this just to make sure that we have the most up to date. Okay. So now what we're looking at here is the home tab. And on the home tab, you can assemble whatever you want. A lot of people want to use the home tab to start their day. I want to be able to see all of my tasks, all of my events, overdue tasks, other things. In this case, we have a dashboard here. Salesforce provides you with an assistant, and based upon actions that you're taking within Salesforce, it's going to recommend actions that you should take to keep deals moving. I've got some recent records I've looked at. I've got some key deals here. I've got events. I've got tasks. Now, because this is a demo environment, I don't have any today's tasks to show you, but that could very well say overdue tasks. Okay, so we've got a lot of flexibility here on the home tab to design it not only for what's important to you, but in a format that makes sense, and we can move these components around, whatever works for you. I don't want to spend too much time on the home because I really want to get into the meat of it, starting with the accounts. So what we've done is we've pre-built 3 record types on the account. We've got companies, we've got intermediaries, and then we've got limited partners, or LPs. I'll be calling them LPs throughout the demo. And the idea behind these record types is they give you the ability to associate different data and have different relationships between the data. So for example, information that we want to track on an investor or an LP would be different than an intermediary. So I'm going to click on the account tab. And one of the things I love about Salesforce are views. Views to me are a way to get access to the data I want without having to search and go through and find all these records. So we have a view here that I've pinned, meaning every time I come to the account tab, I want the intermediary view to show up. I've got a list of all my intermediaries. Some could be accounting firms, investment banks, legal firms, what have you. These are people that could provide me with referrals. I also have a view around LPs. I also have a view around companies. You can build views for whatever you want as part of this, okay? But specifically, let's go back to intermediaries. And if we look at intermediaries, what we really want to do, and let's just pick on BKD here, is take a look at because they're a quote center of influence, if you will, they could provide us with leads. I want to make sure I'm touching my intermediaries periodically. So what we can see here is, we've just got some basic information about the company up here, but I can see that they've referred us 4 deals and they've all been in healthcare, which is nice to know from a very high level standpoint. Salesforce has what's called report charts. So you can put charts on any record and those charts are specific to that record. So it's a mini dashboard for that record. Now, when we take a look at associated to every account, you can have contacts. So in this case, we've got a couple contacts here. Let's just pick on Tony here. And now we're on the contact tab and we can see we've got some information here on Tony. We could track phone number, email address, those kinds of things. But then we also have another report chart here. So in this case, Tony has provided us with referrals totaling $81 million and we passed on all of them. Doesn't mean it's bad. It means, hey, maybe I should keep calling on Tony. But I want to go back and really focus around the different types of accounts. So, in this case, BKD is an accounting firm. They're an intermediary. So we want to focus on the leads that we can get from them. Okay, a BKD, we, again, here from a related list standpoint, we can see the deals that they've referred us. They're probably not going to be involved in fundraising, meaning they're probably not going to be an LP. So we have not linked them to fundraising records. But when we go down here and let's pull up a list of LPs, and specifically, let's just take Allied Resources here. Not only are we tracking a little bit different information, what's their AUM, what type of LP are they, what type of industry are they interested in, for example, but we can also see the fundraising records associated to them. And then finally, from a company standpoint, we want to take a look at potential, existing, or past portfolio companies. So when I click on the company tab here, I've got a list of a lot of different companies. I can look at industries, I can look at states, so on and so forth. So again, going back to the record types, it gives you the ability to track different information so that you're not having to scroll through a lot of fields that really aren't relevant to that type of organization. So let's go back to the LPs and let's just pull up Allied again. Okay. So what we can see here is this is an LP, and not only are we tracking contacts, and we can, again, with accounts and contacts, it's a one-to-many. So every company can have multiple contacts if you would like. You could also have many fundraising records here. So what I'm going to do is pull up Allied Resources, their fundraising record here. And what you can see when I click on this is we went from the account tab over to the fundraising tab, and I can see information about this fundraising opportunity. So what you can do is we have some defined stages here between initial review, first meeting, due diligence, so on and so forth. Everything you see here can be customized based upon what you want to report on. So you may have different stages. We have 6, 7. You may only want 3. That's fine. But what you can also see is that we've included a path up here. And this path has the same stages that we just showed you. So if I want to change this maybe, oh, somebody jumped the gun, we're not at legal review, we're at due diligence, I not only could change it up here, but it changes it down here in the record. So I have a graphical representation of how far we are with this fundraising opportunity. Now, on this opportunity, I'm not only tracking, the potential amount that they're going to invest, but I'm also tracking the fund. I could also track the referral source. So I can track information here about this fundraising record, but I also want to look at it from a pipeline standpoint. So every fundraising record, and I'll just click up here, is, again, we can build views that are important to us. Every one of these tabs, we can build views. So for purposes of today's demo, we're going to be focused on FinTech Fund 1, and just that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this view for FinTech Fund 1, and I can see all of the records that have been created associated to FinTech Fund 1. I can look at it by account, by stage, close date, amount. I could look at it by other columns too. These are the ones that I chose to put out here. Now, one of the things that you can do with views that I also like is you can sort. So I want to sort it by stage. And I want to sort it the other way by stage, or I want to sort it by amount. And that's low to high. No, I want high to low, right? So gives you the ability to high level to take a look at all the records that fit within a view. In this case, my fundraising pipeline. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here into the fundraising record, and I can see it's associated to a fund. So as I like to say, funds are like banks. Money goes in, money goes out, right? Same thing here. Fundraising goes into a fund, and then from a fund, you use that money for your deals. So let's click on FinTech Fund 1 here. And this kind of is an aggregator in terms of the fundraising and the deals. I can see everything here on this page. So what we can see here is that for FinTech Fund 1, we can see that we're looking at raise a couple hundred million dollars. Formation date, and we're just tracking some basic attributes about the fund here. But what I can also see is my fundraising opportunities. Now, these are the same opportunities, fundraising opportunities, that you saw in that view that I just showed you. So here, again, I can take a look at it, and I could come in and I could sort it by close date, I could sort it by stage, exactly what we were doing in that view. But now I'm doing it from the fund. So what I can see here is that I've got over 10 opportunities, and I can look at them by stage. But when you change a fundraising opportunity to committed, meaning they've committed to put X amount into that fund, when you change that stage on the fundraising opportunity, it creates a committed capital record. And the reason why we do that is because we want to be able to roll up the committed capital and have that here. This is a field that I can't edit. It's based upon the records that have been automatically created by the system once the fundraising is moved to committed. So I can see now I'm 35 million short of what I'm trying to fundraise for. Now, what I can also see here is I've got, again, a mini dashboard. I've got one here that looks at open deals for this fund by stage or status, partner meeting, due diligence. Now, I can also see all of my deals up here. So very similar to fundraising, where I can see all my deals, I can see them here, and I can sort them however I want to look at them. What I'd like to do now is let's go in and let's take a look at all of the deals. Now, in this case, we're looking at all of the deals associated with FinTech Fund 1. Now, what you'll see is I'm on the Fund tab here, but I very well could be on the Deal tab, create my own view associated to FinTech Fund 1, and I would see the exact same list. Now, what I want to do is click on one of these deals that we're looking at. And in this case, it's Acorns. And we can see that we're looking to put $57.5 million into this. We can see what status or stage we're at. And notice that this one has a lot more stages or statuses than fundraising. Everything here is customizable based upon how you want to track and measure your business. Now, in addition to tracking the status and the amount, I can track some dates, NDA, IOI, investment. I can track referrals. So I may get a referral from an intermediary or someone else, and I want to track not only the company, but the contact at that company who gave me the referral. I want to take a look at the team that's on this deal, okay? And I also want to take a look at what kind of competitive situation it is, what's our role, and what fund it's associated to. Now, one of the things that we built in here is it's very important for private equity to know that John is on 15, working on 15 deals, and I'm only working on 2. Well, why am I only working on 2? Is Matt a slacker? Well, what we built into the system here is the ability to track deal team members. So as you go in here and you adjust who is the sponsor and who is on the team of that deal, it'll automatically update behind the scenes the deal team, and we can report then to show who's involved in how many deals. So that's something that was very highly requested by a number of firms, and that's also part of the solution here. Now, what we can do is Salesforce has what's called dynamic pages, and I love dynamic pages because the information I want to track here before they become a portfolio company is different than when they become a portfolio company. So as I go through here, and as you'll notice, these are all the fields that are there. There's not many, okay? When I go through here and change it to committed and say, okay, we are going to invest in this company, and I just changed it to committed and saved it, now what you see is a whole, here's the original fields that we have, but now there's a whole new set of fields for information that we want to track specific to a portfolio company. Now, so that I don't bore you as part of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go change this back to the stage it was, and we're going to go into an existing record that has data filled out. So I'll just change this back to partner meeting. And by doing that, it removes all those fields that we had just added. And let's go in here to deals, and let's just pick SoFi here. So what we've got here is now you can see that there's a lot of information now that they're a portfolio company that we want to track. And Salesforce has field history tracking. So over time, as some of this data changes, where board representation goes from 2 of 8 to 3 of 8, for example, history tracking can track who changed it, when, from what to what. So you do have that kind of tracking available to you. So what we have is we've got this information here as it relates to the portfolio company. But what we also have are some related records here. So we have financial results, and this gives you the ability to go in quarterly, annually, whatever's important to you, and update the financial information of this portfolio company. We also have the investment structure, because this is very important for investors also. So this allows you to go in and create new, update existing records, whatever, again, is important to you, and then capitalization. And you may, some of these, you may want all 3, you may only use a couple, totally flexible. If they're not needed, we just hide them off the page, and you would never even go in and to create a record. So Michael, do we want to do the second poll question now?
Wow, you just read my mind. I was about to interject here. We're synced perfectly. Let's put that next poll up. If you're using a CRM system, what are you using today? Salesforce, as we're showing here, Deal Cloud, Dynamo, or perhaps other? Okay, let's close that poll up. Looks like primarily Salesforce with Deal Cloud or other right behind.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt. Back to
All right.
you.
Back to me. Okay. So as I mentioned, before, is that the deal team members, I'd highlighted that this gets updated automatically. And as you can see, I am the partner sponsor on this record. So as I go down here into an existing record and I change that and I make it Miles in this case, the deal team gets updated with Miles' name instead of mine. So that's just some of the functionality, again, behind the scenes that we've got. Now, we're tracking this portfolio company. We're updating the results. And at the same time, LPs that have invested in a fund and the fund's invested in SoFi, they want to know, how's it going? So instead of having, one-off emails, one of the things that you've got the ability to do is to create a report right out of Salesforce for your investors. So what we've done is we plugged in a third-party tool that's going to aggregate data from here, from this whole page, along with financial results, investment structure, and capitalization. And what it'll do is it will create a portfolio report. So here is the portfolio report. And again, this can be reformatted based upon how you want to see it. But what we've done is we've taken a lot of the information from the page and put it here. And then down here, we've got these different tables with the metrics that are important to you. Now, one of the problems is, okay, this is great. I want the report. I need to get it to my investors. I don't want to email it. How am I going to do that? So what we have also done in here is we have created a portal leveraging the Salesforce Experience Cloud. And so let's go here into John Smith. And John is a contact at the John Smith Foundation. And what we're going to do is we have provisioned John as a portal user. So John is an investor, and John wants to be able to see, how are my investments? So this right here is Experience Cloud, which is a separate license from Salesforce Enterprise Edition. These licenses are much cheaper because they're not accessed every day. And what we've done is we pre-built a framework on what a community could look like. So realizing that we're going to want to change logo, change colors, change picture, but the fundamental structure is in place here. So we can change this to match the look and feel that's important to you. But what we've done is we've got 4 different options down here at the bottom. We can also access those from the, I call it the hamburger icon here. But my company information, investments, fund performance, and contact us. So let's go into my company information. And the idea behind this portal/community is that you can determine how much you want to share versus not share with the investor. So in this case, we just have some fields as it relates to their name, phone number, website, address. Okay, not a big deal. Now, we may want to lock these down and not even give them the ability to change them, but to have a button up here that says edit and give them the ability to type in what should change, and then we, the PE firm, will make the change for them. But what you can also see here on the right are files. So there might have been a capital call this year. There might have been a K1 from last year. And again, we talked about, we really don't want to email out sensitive information. So this is a very secure, authenticated, behind the firewall, if you will. They have to log in with their credentials in order to access this information. Okay, so that's just information about the company and the person that just logged in. When we take a look at investments here, so again, based upon the fund, or if it was a co-investment where they didn't invest in a fund but directly into a deal, those can be shown here. So what we've got here, and again, since we used SoFi before, let's just keep picking on SoFi. What you're going to see here is SoFi, but the number of fields is much less. we're limiting what they can see here by field, as well as by related list and other types of objects. Now, what we can also see, though, is there's files on this page. So in addition to just standard files at the company side, we've got a file here, and when I click on it, this should look very familiar because this is the exact file that was sitting on that record in Salesforce. Let me back up here. And so going back to the SoFi record, we also added a logo just to make it a little prettier. But we also have a button up here called Ask a Question. So in this case, I may be looking at this and I have a question. I don't want to call, I just want to submit it to somebody. This, by typing this in and clicking next, they have the ability to either A, send an email to the PE firm, or better would be to create a case in Salesforce around a certain, and as part of this, we may want to have, in addition to a free form text box, we may want to have a pick list of what they want to talk about, so we can start to categorize the number of requests that we're getting from our investors. Because if we start to see that they're all asking for the same thing, we may want to proactively provide that in advance. Going back to the main menu here, we've got fund performance. And I'm going to touch on the dashboards here in a minute, but they have the ability to come in and see the performance of how each company is doing. I'm going to spend more time on fund performance here in just a minute. And then we also have the contact us. So here's the phone number. And again, they could contact us just through a simple text box. So the Experience Cloud gives them a lot of flexibility around accessing data securely. I can upload documents. I, the investor, can upload documents. I, the private equity firm, can post them in Salesforce, and then they can access them from here. We've got a lot of flexibility around the community. So I'm going to log out as John Smith, and I'm going to go back into here. So what we've showed you is, fundraising, and then we've got our funds, and we've got our deals. And as we create those investor reports, quarterly, annual reports, we can provide them out to a community so that the investors can come in and access them. Now, what we've also done is we've created a number of reports and dashboards in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Dashboards tab. And as you can see here, there's 3 tabs that are my most recent ones. We've got fundraising, we've got fund performance, and we've got deals. Now, I can take a look at fundraising through my views, but it's not a really perfect graphical representation, and I may want to look at my fundraising a variety of different ways. So when I click here on the fundraising dashboard, what you're going to see are a number of different components that represent different attributes that I want to understand. From my pipeline by stage, to new fundraising pipeline by week, to by lead source, by LP type, how much has been committed, different attributes. Now, we're looking at the healthcare fund too. What we've got here is a filter. So I, the private equity user, the private equity employee, I can look at all funds. Now, we may want to restrict what funds I can see, but when I click on FinTech Fund 1 here, what it's going to do is refresh this entire dashboard and produce it out into this kind of data for me. So one of the things that I've got the ability to do is to, on every one of these components, in the lower left, there's a link. And when I click on that link, it's going to take me from the dashboard tab to the report tab, and I can see all the data behind it. So when I click on it, excuse me, we're now on the report tab, and it's pulling back all the fundraising records that have not been passed or committed. So this is truly the pipeline of open fundraising opportunities. Going back here to the dashboard, we also have a deal dashboard. And the deal dashboard is, as you can see, you can filter it by fund. But in this case, we're looking at deals by stage and how much we would need to commit. We can look at it by referral company, who's sponsoring these deals, just a number of different attributes that we may want to look at from a deal standpoint. And again, we've got the filter up here. I may want to look at all my deals. So what I'm going to do is I just clicked all and it just refreshed. So this is an entire pipeline, if you will, of the deals I'm evaluating across all of my funds. We also, and finally, have the fundraising, the fund performance dashboard. And this is the dashboard that would be available on the portal/community for your investor. You're only going to want your investor to see this based upon the funds or the deals that they've invested in. So we can see that this hasn't been refreshed in 2 days. We can schedule Salesforce to refresh this dashboard daily. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and refresh it. And again, we're still looking at FinTech Fund 1, but now we're not only looking at data from the deal record once they become a portfolio company, but also those 3 related lists around financial performance, capitalization, and so on. So we're taking a look at EBITDA, and I want to look at EBITDA by company. Not only from a summation standpoint, but also looking at it different ways. I want to look at year-over-year growth, EBITDA. I want to look at MOIC. I want to look at just a number of different attributes that are here that allow you to look at per fund, how am I doing? And this information is extremely valuable, not only internally, but to the investors. So by providing them with an Experience Cloud login, they will have access to be able to see certain information that you want to share with them. You may only want to share those PDF reports. You may want to provide them with a lot more access to the data. So this is the dashboard components. And if there's a report that's not available, again, the report writer in here is point and click. It's very, very easy to use. We've got the ability, and one of the things I like about Salesforce is I could come in here and I could shrink this one down. I could move it around. It's all very flexible as to what we want to do. So everything you've seen today is pre-built based upon past clients as well as other people in the industry that have helped consult with us to build this. But everything can be customized in order to meet your needs. So with that, it is about 40 minutes after the hour, and I wanted to see if we had any questions. Or Michael, do we want to do the final poll before we do the questions?
Absolutely. While we get these questions in, feel free to enter those into the chat box. By the way, let's put that poll out. What are you looking to manage better, fundraising pipeline, deal pipeline, or both? And some questions that are coming in that we can go ahead, send your way. Let me just check to make sure I didn't miss any. Okay, so first question, do we need FSC to run this PE template?
No, you don't. This template will run on Sales Cloud Enterprise Edition or FSC Enterprise Edition. You do not need FSC though. But if you've already got FSC, we can definitely leverage that for this template.
Excellent. Another question, does the community licensing come with the template so that investors can access Salesforce?
No, the community licenses are separate. So the Salesforce licenses, whether it's the Sales Cloud license, FSC, or the community/Experience Cloud license, those would be purchased from Salesforce, and those are separate licenses. So.
Excellent. And last question I have, as long as none others are here. What if we only need this for fundraising now, but want to use it for deals later?
Yeah, yeah, and that as we talk to uh, prospects, that's often the case. I only want to use it for this now, but maybe this later. What we do is we deploy the template so that once we deploy it, it's there, but we would just hide certain features that you don't need. And that way down the road, when you do need it, it's already there, and turning it on is just a 2-minute change.
Excellent. Matt, that is all the questions that I have for today for you. I think, yes, looks like it. Thanks so much for presenting here. I want to remind everyone that you'll get a recording as well as a copy of this recording. So feel free to share it with colleagues, coworkers. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out through that email or work with a client account manager at Sikich. That is it for today. Thanks again for coming. Thanks, Matt. We'll see everybody next time.
Thank you.